Greetings unto you, beloved ones. Hallelujah. We can feel the love in the atmosphere in this space and time like none other. We are abiding together as family. Hallelujah. Just take a moment. Don't lose that. Stay in touch with this. But just imagine that place a long, long time ago where you were going through the motions, thinking this is what you needed, what you wanted. But somehow you knew and felt it just wasn't right. So you pushed yourself harder, that this must be right. This is what they call so-called church. This is what they call so-called worship. But you know in your heart, it's just not enough. And you knew you were not enough for the Almighty. And if you needed Him at that moment in time, what obligation did He even have to you to be there for you when you truly were not there for Him? You weren't walking in righteousness. There was an impersonation of righteousness. Everything that is out there now is religion that you have escaped by the deliverance of His mighty hand through predestination. Hallelujah. Bless Him with me. Continue to praise Him, because we are continuing, pressing forward to be elevated in His mind, in His righteous kingdom. And we know it's true this time. Please receive with me a master teacher, an example truly in our midst. He is the pastor of this house, our sovereign Malachi, the revealer of the mystery illumined. Please welcome with me our beloved Prophet Hadar.
Praises unto the Most High. Let us lift our hearts now in prayer. Blessed day, Father, this holy day of Shabbat, we come in your name, the renewing power of your strength, the love and manifestation of your presence. Surely, Father, Thou have kept us. Surely, Father, you have expressed unto us your pleasure for the stand of righteousness, obedience, holiness, without compromise. And we ask this day, what more can we do for you? For thou came in the power of thy word and took on flesh and dwelt among men and paid the highest price for the sins of the world. Now what more can we do for you? This day, beloved Father, Holy Yahusha, we confirm the covenant that we are yours, and we are willing to do everything and anything that you so desire of us. And if there be any reservation in anyone's heart, or they are not certain, then this thing you will reveal unto them, that they may deal with it and address it, then grow and do all that is necessary, that there be no reservation in you. You, Father, where your word is, you abide. Thus, Father, no reservation in them. For if there be any reservation in you, it is because there is reservation in them. Therefore, Father, we ask, I ask, for thy people's sake, that everything in them be turned over unto you, that there be no reservation in you towards them, as they will have no reservation in them towards your will. We thank you, Father, and submit this body that thou have purchased, that it be a gift unto you in every way, as it is indeed the temple of the Holy Spirit, which temple we are, the righteous, the obedient, those who neither have any reservation towards you and your will. Let each one now, whomever they be and wherever they are, examine themselves and search you out, that they may know what is in their heart, that they would not be found wanting in lack at the day of provocation, the day of the call, the sanctioning, the sending forth, the call thereof, and the appointing to do thy bidding. We so pray, I declare, in the behalf of thy will, for the benefit of thy people. Open thy mouth now, Father. Yea, thy portal as thou hast made me, and speak by the spirit of the voice, that those that have the ears to hear will hear what is thus uttered as the word comes forth by the light, and illuminate the minds of each who will receive blessings and inspiration. We so thank you. Amen. So shall it be, as it is said. So it is received, so it is done. Hallelujah. The word indeed is born. Born is the word of the Most High in me, the sovereign house, and his elect remnant. We so declare it. And blessings. Amona. Let us bless and honor the Most High. Hallelujah. Glory. We surely honor bless the Almighty for my beloved, my wife, the Holy Overseer and Malka, the Sovereign Elder, and Evangelist Celestia. We thank the Most High for the Sovereign House, the Prophet Yahya Elu. Door of the 8th day, we bless and honor the Most High for Prince Eldar, the Evangelist, the Pearl of Wisdom, the Yanbi Iye, Zedek, the Ansala, Selah. Blessings unto Telalia, my daughter. Thank the Most High. Roy Elder. We bless and honor the Most High for the pillars of the prophet, Apostle, Lord Prince Ishadai, his beloved wife, Minister Shwana. We thank the Most High for Prince Mishael, pillar, Prince Adela, Minister, pillar, Prince Rushan, Minister, pillar, Prince's hierarchy of certainty, the beloved Minister of Body, and our beloved family, Tan Beth'Yahu. We thank the Most High. Beth'Yahu. You may be seated. I extend appreciation unto all who have joined us in this service on Shabbat. It's a pleasure for me to behold the years of how the Lord have instructed me and use me to bring his people. And you have to understand that it is a high point in my life when it comes to the things of the kingdom. Not much excites me. There's not much I want. And it's not because I have. And what I do have is not what I asked for. People find that quite strange. Over the years in my teaching, while these preachers teach people to consult the Almighty for cars and houses and jobs and money, do you know all the years of my ministry, and that's since the age of 17, teaching, preaching, and traveling, I've never asked the Most High for one natural carnal thing. Never. Now that wasn't of myself. That was what he put in my spirit. You understand? Because of myself, I would not know to do that. But because how I stayed before him. See, if you want the Lord to deal with you, you have to stay before him. I never broke relationship with the Lord. Never. I always remained consecrated. Never backslid. Because I'm a very loyal man, you see. I give you my word. My word is law. In fact, my word is my life. I would rather die than to violate my word. You understand how serious this is to me? That's how important that is to me. And I've been that way as long as I can remember from my teenage years. I didn't put that in me. The Lord did, the Almighty. And when I gave my word to the Almighty to serve Him, to do His will, when I understood what He wanted from me, I kept my word. That is why I'm very careful. You hear I speak, my thoughts are very deliberate. And I teach ministers and different ones, when you're speaking, slow your speech down. Stop rushing when you speak. Because when you rush, you are rushing your thoughts. And you will err. How many notice how I speak? Everything is deliberate. Every word that comes out of my mouth is carefully thought out. Even if you have an opportunity to sit with me and talk with me, that is the speed I speak. Because I process my thought. I'm careful in what I say. I'm not rushing. And so I'm very careful who I give my word to, because not everybody is deserving of my word. You understand that? My covenant with them. They have to merit it. And if I make a covenant with them, it'll be something in relation that will benefit them in their soul. That is how Yahushua himself was in the earth and is. He said it himself. Think what scripture comes to mind. He said he would not commit himself unto men. See that? Because he knew what was in man's heart. What does that mean? Not to commit yourself unto men. Not to give your word. To bind yourself to them. Because he knew they were wicked. And I'm the same way. I don't commit myself unto men. I commit myself based on the level and the degree that you can be trusted. You understand that? I will not breach that border of where you can be trusted. Because then now I've committed myself to you beyond your ability of where you can be trusted. Hear the wisdom. And the Father will hold me accountable. You can only be trusted up to a certain extent according to the level of your growth and according to how you love the Lord. And everyone does not love the Lord the same, because there are depths and dimension of love in the Almighty. And the more you know him, the more you should be able to love him. Who understands that? The more you come to know him, the more you have knowledge and access to graft yourself more in his love. Knowledge gives you the access to learn how to exercise it. If you ever disobeyed, you ever violated instructions of leadership, of righteousness, that shows you don't love him. What did Yahushua say? If you love me, what will you do? You keep my commandments. So there have been much who have breached the love. Your crying does not mean you love him. Remember, your sincerity does not mean you love him. It just means that you're genuine at that time. You could be genuine for something at that time of based on what is happening, and then after what is happening cease, then you're no longer genuine. Are you seeing this? People mistake crying and falling out and feeling sorrow for love. That is not love. That is not love. I'm going to take some time to teach you about love, because that is not love. Because you do something doesn't mean you love. If you had to be rebuked, you had to be corrected for something based on disobedience, that is not love. It shows you are void of love. Are you understanding this? Love is a very intricate essence of what it means to serve the Most High. It's more than just you attending service. You know why I call it service? I don't say come to church, because there's so many definitions that people have. Remember, we taught in our last teaching, the opening of Shabbat, personal definitions, correct? And how people in English, they can say, well, the way I see that is this, because English tends to be abstract oftentimes. Greek and Latin, Hebrew is concrete. It is what it is, because it is an ancient language that goes back, even Aramaic. It is concrete. Now, I'll not get into what language Adam spoke. Some say Hebrew, some say Aramaic. There's no confirmation here that you can see in the letter. So let us not begin to have that discussion. What I can tell you is that it was an ancient tongue that consisted of what you may call an ancient Hebrew tongue. That's another teaching, nonetheless. But if you truly understood what love is, it is beyond just mere feelings. Who heard me? Beyond mere feelings. And if you truly understood what love is, you'd be frightened. Every one of you here would be afraid. You would not be able to look upon it. Who heard me? And live. Isn't that something? See, you didn't think of it that way, because you can't look upon the Most High and live. And He's love. Isn't that heavy? So if you saw love in its rawness, in its pureness, you would not be able to live, because your body would not be able to bear it in the state that it is now. That's how heavy love is. But love is misconstrued for emotions, for ideas, for feelings, various concepts. No, it is not. What you see, who you see, what you admire, no. What you're infatuated with, no. That is not love. And there is a love that is so deep till it's frightening. And most people will never come to know that love. And that is why they'll burn in hell. And just the rare, small degree of the love of the Father is able to save you from sin and from hell. That's heavy. You think about that. That is not even the full, absolute manifestation of the love of the Father. But those who are saved at the end and renewed, that love, let me show you how powerful that love is. The love of the Father it will change your mortal body and turn it into a glorified body. That will be by love. You can't even fathom that. You don't even know what to do with that. See? Look upon their face. They have no idea what to do with that. Because you hear about the glorifying of the body. You hear about the resurrection. You hear about all of that. But you can't fathom what that feels like. You have never seen a glorified body. I have. You have never seen a glorified body. You don't know what it looked like. You have no idea what it feels like. You have no idea what it's like to be in his presence. And that will be the manifestation of the Father's expressed love in fullness until it shine forth and consume this body, change it. Hallelujah. And you think you know love. You need to revamp this and start consulting the Most High about love and loving him. Because I've seen some things over the years, and they dare believe they love him. You think because you're not in sin, lying, fornicating, committing adultery, using profanity, doing secular things, you think that you have love. But yet, areas in your character that's unrefined is evident you don't love him. Because if you have fear, that's the absence of love. Then how much more if there are areas in your character that's unrefined is evident that you don't have love. Think about that. That cause rebellion and pride and stubbornness and resistance. See, these are the very things that the Father himself despised. He said himself that he hates. Discord, he hates. Gossiping, he hates. And you say you love. And you hold aught in the heart for one of your brothers or sisters. How do you have love? You can't sacrifice, give yourself, be faithful and consistent in ministry towards the kingdom. Then how do you say you love him? Think about that. How? You're thinking, you see. There's a love that's so deep, that is deeper than the love of a woman or a man. Scripture tells us how David and Jonathan loved each other. And I'm not speaking in light of sodomy, homosexuality, because that's not love. That's an abomination. It's called unnatural affection. Is bestiality an unnatural affection? Yes, it is. A natural affection is a man and a woman, correct? But what breaches that natural affection of a man for a woman and a woman for a man is fornication or adultery. That's when it's a sin. You come together out of wedlock. That is a sin. Are you understanding that? It's not an abomination, but it's a sin. See, there's a difference between sin and abomination. Abomination is a sin. But if it's abominable, that means it's against the natural order of things in nature that the Father purposed. Who understand that? This means These are spirits involved. A spirit cast out and bring 7 other devils in. And some of these spirits can be homosexuality. It's not the person themselves alone, physically. It is that devil, that spirit in them that crave the body of a man who is a man, or a woman who crave a woman, but likewise in lust. Who understand that? Now, we're yet in the ongoing teaching of Synergism, Predestination. Come with me to the book of Romans. We paused in our last teaching, the book of Romans, chapter 16, and we were blessed and are yet blessed. How many learned much? We went into Romans chapter 16. I want everyone vehemently, with vitality, to read Romans chapter 16, verse 17 through 20. Begin. Blessings. Let me read. Now I beseech you, brethren, mark them which cause divisions and offenses contrary to the doctrine which ye have learned, and avoid them. We explained this, did we not? It is self-explanatory. Is it clear? Who would say that this is very clear in understanding? So you cannot fabricate a total different explanation than what it just said if you truly understand the scriptures. Correct? And what does it mean to mark? It's literally exposing them. If I identify you, did I mark you? So if I identify you as a man, I marked you? I did not. If I identify you as a woman, did I mark you? I did not. So this is not just identifying. This is what? Exposing them. What else is it? Exposing them and naming them. Correct? Name them to whomever. Have you heard preachers say, don't name people, don't name other preachers? Who've heard that? Pray for them, they say. Is that what Paul said? He said expose them. Why? Because you don't pray for the wicked. You don't? Yahusha said it. Take some time and read the verses of the Gospel of John, chapter 17. Yahushua said, I pray not for the world. Did he say that? So I don't know if he truly said that. Well, I just told you where to go read it. I only pray for those, Father, that thou have gave me. I do not pray for the world. Is that in your Bible? How many want to be like Yahushua? How many want to be like me? Follow me as I follow Yahushua Mashiach. I'm not praying for the world. The world does not need prayer. They need rebuke. They need admonishment. That's what they need. They need you to go to them, express unto them your displeasure, your disagreement, your disapproval in their conduct. Because the body was made for the Lord and the Lord for the body. You are not using the body properly. Who heard that? The body's not supposed to be used for sin. Who see that now? So express your displeasure. Now, after you do that, and they're willing to listen to reason and say, I see. So I am using this body illegally. You're drinking alcohol, you're using this body illegally. You're speaking profanity, you're using that body illegally. You're thinking impure, lustful, hateful thoughts, you're using the body illegally. You're fornicating and committing adultery, you're using the body illegally. You're committing sodomy, you're using the body illegally. You're committing bestiality, you're using the body illegally. You're warring, you're fighting, you're bickering, you're murdering, you're using the body illegally. You're stealing. You're using the body illegally. Who see that? You're being religious. You're using the body illegally. Much illegal acts are being committed before the face of Yahushua HaMashiach and the Father and the Holy Spirit every day, and no one seems to care. Until you start caring, people will not be conscious of what they're doing. Who heard what I said? Until the royal priesthood recognize, I am sent to serve and to save man. They're not going to recognize what they're doing is illegal. Because more and more the generation, each generation that is born without a consciousness towards the Father. You have to bring the consciousness to them. And once they come to that consciousness that what they're using the body for is illegal, then now they are conscious. Instead of unconsciously committing the illegal act against the Father, now they would be what? Consciously committing the illegal act against the Father. And it'll be worse for them. But at least they know what they're doing. Correct? So you're not doing what you're supposed to do, and you're committing an illegal act if you're not using the body to bring consciousness to those who are unconscious of what they're doing, who are committing the illegal act. Hallelujah. Overseer can tell you where she's with me. I touch people's life every day. Oh, yes. Nearly every day I do it. I say, come here. And I start to talk to them and tell them and impart the truth. And they let me do it too. I said, come here, I'm a walking miracle. I said, let me tell you. I said, come. And they listen to me. I start telling them that I go into the word. And then they come teary-eyed. Yes. Men and women. And they say, it's a pleasure to meet you, sir. I never met anyone like you. I'm a master in touching the lives of people. I penetrate down into their soul like an arrow, piercing arrow and sword. Every time. What did Yahushua say? Through love and kindness have I drawn all men unto me. Ah, glory. That's how you become a powerful witness. Because when you recognize this may be their last day on this earth, and they may die, and in hell they'll lift up their eyes. You'll never see them again, and you never think of them again, because you didn't think of them in the first place to impart love. Who heard me? Love. There's not one person I hate, but I can despise their ways. And when you despise the Most High, I despise your ways. You will not hear him. I will have no part with you. And that is absolute. It is absolute in me reaching you. But when you reject him, it is absolute me departing from you. Because you want no part of the Father in heaven. That is the order of things. Are you understanding this? Now, he said to mark them. When you understand first century, second century generation, that period, according to this time, would view that period very shrewd and hard. Not many people survived in those days. I've taught this before. Yahushua HaMashiach, he died somewhere within the age of 30 or 33. There is no set confirmation. That being said, it was the average age of young men who died in those days because of much diseases, poverty, starvation. But he was crucified, and many were killed in those days, as we saw with Yahushua HaMashiach. And he was killed because of envy. They were jealous of him. They knew who he was. They knew he was the king. Remember, I've taught that, right? And it's evident they knew it. Now, let's say some did not. They knew he was a mighty prophet, and they were threatened by him because he was not just mighty in words. Do you see that? Words and teachings, the wisdom, teaching the mess of the kingdom. He was mighty in deeds also, miracles, signs and wonders. When he said here, the Apostle Paul, I beseech you, brethren, who is he speaking to? The righteous, correct? He's telling the righteous, be aware. There are those you have to be aware of. Because Paul was being attacked. So you have to understand why he's speaking this way. He's not just teaching and speaking haphazardly, at randomly, because there's nothing better for him to say. He's actually writing an epistle to the church in Rome. This is in Rome. And he's telling them certain things to be aware of. Because at that time, many false teachers were rising up and many false Christs. When you read, come there, let's read that. In the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 24. I just want you to come there. The Gospel of Matthew, chapter 24. Blessings. It says in verse 5, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. Stop there. Now come to verse 23. Then if any man shall say unto you, lo, here is Christ, or a Mashiach, or there, what did he say? Believe it not, for there shall arise false Christs, Hamashiachs, and false prophets, and shall shew great signs and wonders, insomuch that, if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. Pause there. What was the difference between these false Christs and Hamashiach himself? The difference between them, you may say, well, they're false. Well, how would you know they're false? Because if they're working miracles, signs and wonders as Hamashiach did, then how will you know that they're true or false? You don't live with them. How would you know? See, you're quiet, aren't you? We're not going to go into that right now, but what I want to show you is this. What is the marker? The difference between a true Christ and a false Christ is righteousness. But if you don't live with them, how would you know if they're righteous? The fact that they told you? You see why you don't go by miracles? What was Yahushua known for? He was mighty in what? Word and in deed. See that? You're going to know a true prophet because he's mighty in word and in deed. I teach things that are of the kingdom that you can't know unless it comes from the Father. Do you hear me? Anyone can teach the letter. Who heard me? Anyone can open their mouth and teach the letter. That's not a marker for me because you teach the letter. Live it. Live this word. This very word that I preach, I live it. And I don't compromise it on any level for anybody. But not only that, I'm mighty in word, in the revelation and knowledge of the kingdom. And I can preach the mysteries of the Most High. That don't come from anybody. Not even the Antichrist himself can preach that. Do you understand that? Not even the Pharisees and Sadducees could have preached what Yahushua Mashiach preached. So it's always backed up. Any miracle, any sign and wonder, if they be true prophets, is backed up by the knowledge of the word from the mind of the Most High and the life they live.
Amen.
Now compare me to false prophets and what I teach and what they preach. Listen to the foolishness they preach. Garbage come out of their mouth. Every bit of garbage. And that's how you know you are listening to a false prophet. Because they're full of foolishness. And you can see the carnal flare in them. Right? But when you look upon a true holy vessel, you see what? A righteous flare in them. Hallelujah. All the time. You can't hide it. And when you see the righteous people of the Most High, you're going to see what? That righteous flare. They're going to know you're righteous just by looking at you. Because you're not like everybody else. Hallelujah. Beautiful. So he said, mark them. Because there are those who are religious, who are deceived, and those who are in this world that may be seeking, and they're thinking that these preachers are true. He said, mark them, let them know. Show them the way that they are not righteous, and explain to them why, and line them up in the word so they can see, so they don't fall to that deception. Glory to his name. Mark them. Mark them up. And you don't base it on miracles. You don't. Because there's a lot of fake, artificial things taking place out there. And don't think the devil, especially when we come near to the end time, that he's not going to pour out his power upon those that seek him. That there will be miracles taking place. What you think is miracles. That's another teaching. We'll go into that, but not now. But hear this. Come to verse 20, and we'll move forward. He says, and the Most High Almighty of peace shall bruise Satan under your feet shortly. Remember what that meant? The word bruise in the Greek? We're not going to go into explanation in depth again, but it's suntribos, right? Come from the root word tribos, for bruise, which means what? To rub, the base of. And the Most High of peace, shalom in Hebrew, in Greek, irene, rest and quietness, shall bruise, centribos, to rub the base of Satan under your feet. Who heard that? Or what? Rub. It's not in one definition. It's one word, rub. Satan under your feet. Look at this. Rub. See that? Satan under your feet. What did Yahushua tell his disciples in Matthew chapter 10? He said, when you go out by twos, right? And you go to someone's home and you speak shalom. And the shalom, the peace, return back to you, right? And they receive you not. He says what? Shake off the dust under your feet. He was saying to them, rub it. So he just says to do what I just showed you here in rubbing, that was against Satan, right? So it's a testimony. That's all it is. It's not a sensational song. Put the devil under your feet. Put the devil under your feet. That's not what that means. It was literally a sign of what? Of what? A testimony against you. That it would not be good for you, or for that house, or for that city. You didn't have to speak a word. All you had to do is what? Rub your feet on the ground. Shake off that dust. Do not take it with you. And so now it's a symbol of rejecting them. And when you reject them, or that city, the Father reject them and bring judgment. And that was the power that was given unto the disciples when Yahushua sent them 4 by 2. He sent them forth to heal the sick, all manner of sickness and diseases, and to cast out devils. But he also gave them power to judge, that if they didn't receive you in my name, then you go ahead and shake off the dust under your feet as a testimony against them, and it will not be good for them. That's heavy. And it will be acknowledged by the Father that I am against them, and I will judge them. And you know what happened? All manner of diseases and death and hardship will come upon that city, because you shook off the dust upon your feet against them as a testimony. That's all it meant. It was a testimony against them. So when he says, and the Most High of peace shall bruise, it didn't mean this, hitting. It meant what? Rubbing. So that's a poor translation there of the word bruise. It meant rub. Rub your feet. Where did Paul learn that from? Yahushua Mashiach. He learned it. So he's teaching them, this is how you treat Satan. Or anybody who is what? Who comes, as he said in verse 17, I beseech you, brethren, mark them which cause divisions and offenses contrary to the doctrine which ye have learned, and avoid them. That means if they claim to be a member, that means if there's someone attacking the church, that means if someone attacking the righteous, that means if they're false preachers, it doesn't matter who. He says what? Mark them. How do you mark them? Rub your feet. Who see it now? He's giving you the resolution right here. He says what? And the Most High of peace, shalom, rest, and quietness, shall do what? Bruise Satan, rub Satan under your feet shortly. He said, I'm going to deliver you from him. He said, just do this. Just rub your feet as a testimony against them. And I will come, because that's how you mark them. Whoa, glory. He said, mark them, and I will come shortly and rescue you. Whoa. They're troubling you, troubling the righteous. He said, mark them. Now, how do you mark them? Rub your feet. That's how he said. And what is the base? He says the base. He says the base of your feet. He said rub them. Just on the ground. It goes right back. See how everything connects back? Right back to what Yahushua taught his disciples. So now I'm teaching you. Do the same thing. You see, you have to understand. You're benefactors. You're not just here to sit here and look pretty in nice garments. And clap and say hallelujah. You're the righteous. You have to go forth and stand and make a strong stand against anything that comes to exalt itself against the knowledge of the Most High. You're not a puppy that has a tail and a tail stuff under his legs. Come on. You're the head. Who heard me? And not the tail. So you don't run away. You let them know who you are. You're the righteous. And I make my stand for the kingdom. And I'm going to mark you. And let me tell you what that means if I mark you. It's not going to be good for you and your household. So the fact that I'm telling you, I'm being merciful. I'm giving you a way to come to the Most High. Glory. But if you turn away, then that's on you. But now if you turn away and start to attack, now you're making this thing personal. See the difference? It's only if they start to attack. What did Paul say? He said what? Mark them which cause division and offenses contrary to the doctrine. So only if they what? What did it say? Only if they what? Cause division and offenses. Offenses, right? Not offenses against you or me, because they talk about me. Well, I'm not going to let you talk about the Holy Prophet. No. They won't be the last one talking about me. Don't you try to defend me. Don't do it. Leave me alone. I don't need you to defend me. The Father defends me. Who heard me? They will not be the last one. You understand that? I don't need you to fight my battle. The battle is the Lord's. Did he not say that? Let the Lord fight the battle. You ever heard that song? If you hold your peace, let the Lord fight your battle. Victory, victory is yours. Hallelujah. Just hold your peace. Stop trying to fight. He said, victory, victory is mine. Who know it? Victory, victory is mine. If I hold my peace, let the Lord fight my battle. Victory, victory is mine. Who heard me? So don't fight my battle. I want the Almighty to fight it for me. Right? Now, hear that. Only if, he said, this is what you do. You mark them. Now, we understand further what the marking is, right? Correct? Shaking off the dust under your feet as a testimony against them. Only if they cause divisions and offenses, not against you, not against me. Correct? Only if they cause what? Divisions or what? Offenses contrary to the doctrine. What doctrine? The word that is taught. Then he said to what? He said to avoid them. And then he went down further. They continue this. He said to do what? He said, this is showing what the Most High will do. And the Most High of peace shall bruise Satan under your feet shortly. So you have to what? Rub at the base of your feet as a testimony against them. Come. Gospel of Matthew chapter 10. Let's just read that so everybody can lay their eyes. This is what Paul's referring to. This is called rightly dividing the word of truth. The Gospel of Matthew chapter 10, verse 1. And when he had called unto him his 12 disciples, he gave them power against unclean spirits to cast them out and to heal all manner of sickness and all manner of diseases. Now the name of the 12 apostles are these. The first, Simon, who was called Peter, and Andrew, his brother, James, the son of Zebedee, and John, his brother, Philip, and Bartholomew, Thomas, and Matthew, the publican, James, the son of Alphaeus, and Lydius, whose surname was Thaddeus, Simon the Canaanite, and Judas Iscariot, who also betrayed him. These 12 Yahusha sent forth and commanded them, saying, Go not the way of the Gentiles, and into any city of these Samaritans enter ye not, but go rather to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. And as ye go, preach, saying, The kingdom of heaven is at hand. Heal the sick, cleanse the lepers, raise the dead, cast out devils. Freely ye have received, freely give. You know what he meant by that? As I have given you the power and the authority freely, you go forth and do this. Same thing, correct? Provide neither gold nor silver nor brass in your purses, nor scrip for your journey, neither 2 coats, neither shoes, nor yet staves. For the workman is worthy of his meat. He's saying it is a people's responsibility to take care of you. In simple layman's term, don't bring extra anything just in case. Don't do that. That's not how I travel. I bring just what I need, and the rest the Lord will provide, right? And into whatsoever city or town ye shall enter, inquire who in it is worthy. Do you see that? You have to inquire what? Who is worthy? Worthy of what? Worthy to receive as you have received for the impartation, right, of the blessing. And there abide till ye go thence. So what is this speaking of? Worthy to receive you, for them to take care of you when you go. This is what was appointed unto the apostles. Hear what he says. And when you come into the house, salute it. He says salute it. Correct? And if the house be worthy, is he speaking of the physical structure or those in the house? Those in the house. Let your peace, yes, shalom, come upon it, he said. All you have to do is declare the word and let it come upon it. But if it be not worthy, let your peace return to you. He said, call it back. Call back to peace. That virtue that went from you. Now this is what was appointed unto the apostles, or those the Most High are sending forth, right? And whosoever shall not receive you, hear that now, nor hear your words. What words? The word of the kingdom of heaven is at hand. This word of salvation that they came to bring, to announce the arrival of the Savior. They didn't preach the mess of the kingdom. All they were announcing was the kingdom of heaven is at hand. The Savior is here. come and meet him. Come and be saved. Who see that? And whosoever shall not receive you, nor hear your words, when ye depart out of that house or city, shake off the dust of your feet. Verily I say unto you, it shall be more tolerable for the land of Sodom and Gomorrah in the day of judgment than for that city. Who see that? He said, do what? Shake off the dust, which means what? Rub at the base of your feet. And that's what he meant by here. And the Most High of peace shall bruise Satan under your feet shortly. Just do that, even as saints, when you mark them, because they come to sow discord and attack the word of sound doctrine. It can't be about you. It has to be about his word. It's not about you. It's about his word. It's about his kingdom. Stop making things personal. Because if you make things personal, you cannot be used in the kingdom of the Father. You cannot. You're too weak. Well, they said this about me, and they're attacking me, and they spoke about me, and I'm hurt, and I don't know what to do. I'll tell you what you need to do. Stay put. Be quiet, and just serve. Go cut the grass or something, or sweep, because you can't do anything else. You're too frail. You can't bear people talking about you, fighting against you. It's not about you. Men gonna rail, attack, do all type of things. It's about the kingdom. And if you're not ready to go through for the kingdom's sake, and you want to pick up arms to fight, then you're not worthy to go forth in the kingdom. You're not. Then stay yourself put and do nothing. Because men are going to revile you and persecute you. Is that not written? Didn't Yahushua say that? For his name's sake. Whose name's sake? Yours. Mine. He said his name's sake. I had to come to terms with that as a young man. Young man. It didn't feel good the first time. Oh, no, it did not. It didn't feel good when they started attacking me. I wasn't ready for it. At least I didn't feel I was, but I was all ready. I didn't feel I was ready, but I was ready because I knew I was sold out to the kingdom. And I said, let me set my heart. Say what you want to say. I'm just going to do it. And then you just learn how to be callous. You know what callous is? You ever had a callus in your hand? It's like dead skin, right? So you just become dead to it. You don't think one thing. I've been called all type of things. Some things I wouldn't even dare utter before you. Some things I wouldn't even repeat what I've been called from people who said they know him. You heard me? It's different when you hear it from the world. But when you hear it from people who claim to love the Lord and claim to know him, that's a whole nother scenario. An attack from pastors, from left to right, not just one at a time, many at one time. Oh yes, many at one time. Because you did what the Lord told you to do. I just learned. And there's a word I used to use. I say, suck it up. That's a word I had many years ago. Just suck it up. That means just take it and just keep going. And I did. Took it and kept going. And then it escalated over the many years. to attacks, physical attacks. Yes. Even guns. Me shot at. Yes, people. Gun put in my face. I've been through some things y'all have never heard of and seen. I've never even spoken about. All for the kingdom's sake. All for preaching the word. You wonder, you preach the word and then you prophesy and expose the devil and the sin in people's lives, and then they bring out people to come against you in service. That's happened to me. And the Lord spoke to me. He said, go nowhere lest ye travel with a prince. And that's when I knew I had to raise up princes. He didn't tell me until then. I raised up no prince. He told me, go nowhere lest he travel with a prince. I said, a prince? Oh, then I must raise up princes. I don't miss people when I speak the word and I prophesy, because I don't speak of self. I speak what the Lord tell me. You see? So you say what the Lord say, but there's a price you pay when you say what the Lord say. And you have to be ready for what will happen. And it's not always going to be what you think it's going to be. The Lord going to work his mighty hand and make them fall out or this and that. It's not that. Do you know who should travel with his disciples? And mainly Peter, James, and John. Did we not just read about James and John? They were called Boanerges. And Boanerges means son of thunders. Know what that means? They were aggressive. They were ready to fight. Sons of thunder. They were ready to fight. What? That's how they were. And he had Peter. Peter was ready to fight. Peter was that bold. Peter, James, and John. Notice, he always traveled with those three. Why those three? Because his life was always being threatened. Remember I told you that time? They did what they wanted to do. So he didn't travel with passive people. Let's talk about it. Jesus wants peace. Oh, no. He said, Peter, why are you come? James, come. John, there we go. So you have to be prepared to pay the price, whatever the price might be. And sometimes that will mean harm for the gospel's sake. For what purpose? You may say, why? For a testimony of what you're willing to bear for the kingdom. Who understand that? What you're willing to bear for the kingdom. Not all the time the Father's going to deliver you. He's going to deliver you out of it, and sometimes he's going to deliver you in it. And he wants you to learn from it. And he told his disciples this. It's in the word. They're going to persecute you. They're going to put you in prison. They're going to beat you. He said that to his disciples. That when they become apostles, this is what's going to happen to them. For his name's sake. So no, you don't fight your battle. He said, and the Most High of peace shall do what? Bruise Satan under your feet shortly. And the grace of our Lord Yahushua Mashiach be with you. Amen. Because when it's all said and done, the grace of Yahushua Mashiach is with you. Romans chapter 13 now, and to show you that this is an authority that extends not from the brethren who are disciples, but it extends from the apostles. It says here in Romans chapter 13, verse 1, let every soul be subject unto the higher powers. For there is no power but the power of the Most High. The powers that be are ordained of the Most High. Whosoever therefore resisteth the power, resisteth the ordinance of the Most High. And they that resisteth shall receive to themselves damnation. If you resist what? The powers of the Most High. Right? He said, what will happen? They'll receive to themselves damnation. What is damnation? It's a destructive judgment. It's not just a judgment announced. It's a destructive judgment. Act upon in some way. Right? It's condemning one to penalty. For rulers are not a terror to good works, but to the evil. Who heard that? Will thou then not be afraid of the power? He's asking this question. Who is he writing this epistle to? Who is he teaching? Those in Rome. Because you have to understand, Rome was a great city of wickedness. And the people were influenced by the forces of Rome. And so he's teaching about authority. Not just the authority of exousia power, of judges, of men. He's teaching here about his authority. You have to understand how Paul is speaking as the apostle. He's teaching them, I am that authority. For rulers are not a terror to good works, but to the evil. Wilt thou then not be afraid of the power? Do that which is good, and thou shalt have praise of the same. He said, you do what's right, you'll be exalted. You'll be praised. You'll be honored for it. But if you don't do what's right, he said, be afraid. Because whoever has the power, the authority, can execute that authority, even by word. Right? Hear this now. Verse 4. For he is the minister of the Most High to thee for good. Pause there. Now we use terms as ministers. Ministers. You hear it in different ministries. You hear it in this ministry. Minister so and so. Minister this person. Minister that person. Do you know that's not the same as what we're reading here? The term minister means servant. But this type of minister Paul's referring to, when you have to identify the minister, a minister is just a servant. You can be a disciple and a minister. A minister as in the sense of, I minister. Who heard me? As in serving. But if you're a minister, identify what type of minister are you. If you're an ordained minister, a teacher, an evangelist, who see that? What type of minister are you? Who see? Thus, what type of servant are you? Who understands that? So Paul is referring here to the apostles, or those who are appointed by the apostles to oversee the church. Because he was dealing with those who are rebellious. He was dealing with rebellion in Rome of those in the congregation. So he says, for he is the minister of the Most High to thee for good. Not for evil, for good. Whether it be a teacher, a pastor, whatever he is to serve you in of the things in the Most High is for what? The good. But if thou do that which is evil, what is he referring to evil? Sin, wickedness. What did he say? Be afraid. And that's the problem today. People are not afraid. And who caused that? These false preachers. They're the reason why people are not afraid. Because they have no power to speak judgment. He said what? Be afraid. For he beareth not the sword in vain. What does the sword represent? Judgment. Correct? For he is the minister of the Most High. Hear this now. A revenger. What? A revenger? What does it mean to revenge? To pay back. To give back because of what you did. What did we just read in Romans chapter 16, verse 17? He said, I beseech you, brethren, mark them which cause divisions and offenses contrary to the doctrine which ye have learned, and avoid them, right? Then he went on to say what we read in verse 20, right? How the Most High peace shall bruise Satan under your feet shortly, correct? And now we're reading here Romans chapter 13. So this came before. So what do we see? Romans chapter 13, then later on, Romans chapter 16. Do you see the sequence? So we understand from this what he was dealing with, right? And why he wrote this way. This had nothing to do with sensationalism. Put the devil under your feet. Put the devil. Had nothing to do with that. It had everything to do with subjecting the devil. Announcing judgment against what is unholy, what is unrighteous, and even authorizing the righteous to mark those that cause division, right? Discord, contrary to the doctrine of truth. So he says, a revenger to execute wrath upon him that doeth evil. Verse 5, wherefore ye must needs be subject, not only for wrath, but also for conscience sake. Who heard that? So don't be subject because of wrath. You're afraid of wrath. He said, do it for conscience sake. Because it elevates you. Who see that now? Hence, the Gospel of Luke, chapter 4, verse 8. The Gospel of Luke, chapter 4, verse 8. Blessings. Hear what it says. And Yahusha answered and said unto him, get thee behind me, Satan, for it is written, thou shalt worship the Lord, the highest power, thy most high, and him only shalt thou serve. Who see that? So what Yahushua saying? Satan, stand behind me? or was it an expression of authority? So just like the Most High of peace shall bruise Satan under your feet, it is what? An expression of authority. Right? Not that you literally put him under your feet, rub him on the base of your feet. It's an expression of an authority he's given to his saints. So he's telling Satan to do what? Get behind me, when Satan came to tempt him. Because he neither served the things that be of the Most High. So he's saying, subject yourself, is what he's saying. Get behind me. Subject yourself. He didn't pray. He just rebuked him. And it was understood. Matthew chapter 16. Come there. Matthew chapter 16. Verses 22, 23, and 24. Gospel of Matthew chapter 16. Verse 22 through 24. It says, then Peter took him and began to rebuke him. Stop. Let's give you the insight of what's happening. Yahushua spoke unto his disciples, and he asked his disciples, whom do men say that I am? Some say thou art Elias, some say thou art Jeremiah, the prophet, or one of the prophets raised from the dead. He looks at Peter. Peter, whom say ye that I am? Peter, receiving by the question, the door opens in his mind. Because Yahushua asked him directly. And when he asked him directly, that's when the Father opened his mind to know. If Yahushua never asked them, he would not have known. Peter answered, thou art the Hamashiach, the Son of the living Most High. Yahushua said to him, flesh and blood have not revealed this unto you. Meaning, no one came to you and told you this. You did not know this of yourself, of your own mind. But my Father which is in heaven told you. Because I asked you directly. That's why. After that, they walked on. You can imagine how Peter must have felt. The rest you didn't know. I knew. Oh, yes. You have to understand how Peter was. And you're going to see it. Then Yahushua, in the next account, begins to tell his disciples, I must go down to Jerusalem. All this time he didn't go to Jerusalem. He said, I must go into Jerusalem. And when I go, I must suffer many things of the Jews. They will persecute me, and I'll be put to death. Peter says, oh no, that will not happen to you. In other words, do you know who you are? You're the Hamashiach, the Son of the living Most High. That's not going to happen to you. No. Yahushua looks at Peter after looking at his disciples. Because that was a rebuke. Did you know that? To tell Yahushua that's not going to happen to you. He's correcting them. He's rebuking him. That's what he's doing. Correcting him and rebuking him. Telling him that's not going to happen to you. No, you're wrong. So Yahushua looks at his disciples and look at Peter. What did he say to Peter? Get thee behind me, Satan. Who was he talking to? The devil? Because the devil wasn't there. He was talking to Peter. But you hear preachers teach that he was talking to who? The devil. The devil was not there. The devil did not possess Peter. Peter was of himself. Who heard that? In pride and arrogance. That was arrogance. And arrogance and pride is the spirit of rebellion. That's what that was. So he says, the Lord rebuke you. Get behind me, Satan. You don't serve the things of the Most High. He called him what? Satan. Why? Because he was dealing with that spirit of pride and arrogance that what rose up to what? Attack the word of prophecy, which is the word of the Most High, and put him in his place. You don't see what was happening? It was an attack against the word. It was an attack against the word of the prophets. Because the foundation of Yahusha was laid by the prophets, says the word. Who the Father gave the word to prophesy. So when Peter said that, that's a spirit of what? Rebellion. So that's when I give you instructions and you go do the opposite. That's a spirit of pride, arrogance, and rebellion. That's how dangerous that is. The consequences are severe. See, what Peter, he had no excuse because he already heard from the Most High that told him he's who? The Son of who? The living Almighty, correct? Based on that, he should have been careful. You talking to the Son. Be careful. Because the Son is always the heir. And if you know who the Son is, he's the Son of Man. He's the one. He's the Messiah. He's the one that all of Israel have been waiting on to come. And if you understand who this is the Word made flesh that dwell among men. Be mindful how you speak. But when there's pride and arrogance, they feel they can do and say what they want to do and say. And no consequences. But there are consequences. Anyone act up that way here? There are consequences. Amen. The book of Ephesians, chapter 4. Come there if you would. So we have to be sober. And hear what he says. Ephesians chapter 4, verse 27. Submit yourselves, therefore, to the Most High. Resist the devil, and he will flee from you. That's all you need to do. Who heard that? All you need to do is submit yourselves to the Most High. Stay subject to his word, subject to his will. Resist the devil. Resist him, whatever temptation he brings, whatever trial, whatever he bring. If he raise up self in you, he said, resist the devil, and what will happen? What will he do? What is a guarantee he will do? Flee from you, correct? He will run. He will turn away. That is a promise. He can't force you to do anything against your will. Last scripture read for now. Psalms. Chapter 1, verse 1. It says, blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly. What is the ungodly? Unrighteous, right? What does counsel mean? The congregation, right? To partake with them. Blessed is the man. We can add woman as well. and children, that walketh not in the counsel, the congregation of the unrighteous, the ungodly, nor standeth in the way of sinners. What does that mean? Nor standeth in the way of sinners. Partake with them in the way of what they do. Nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful, feeling or expressing contempt. That is scornful. The feeling or expressing contempt. Those that criticize, those that gossip, those that tear down, you do not sit in their seat and partake with them. You know, I'm going to pause at this. Whoever they are, and I've dealt with a few over the many years, have never done one thing, have never built one thing, but they want to come tear down. Tear down what they've never built. Want to come control what they've never built. Want to start an uprise, anarchy. Go build something and start your own anarchy, but not here. It's not happening here. You will be put out. And any other righteous pastor will put you out as well. You either comply or you get out. Because we already have a government. Isn't that right? Well, I don't agree with it. Then go where you want to go. That let you do what you want to do. But not here. Do we understand that? It's simple. And I've dealt with a few. Because they're not used to strong pastors. They're used to what I call hen pen pastors. Hen. Like little chickens. This is not a hen pen pastor, people. So you're not going to come here and rule and have your way and start some anarchy and think you're going to come teach. You're not teaching anybody anything. You're going to come sit here and learn. And if you awaken something in Israel, you're not fully awake, and you awaken slumbering Israel, what I call awaken slumbering, you're going to slumber on out of here because you're not coming in here running things. Do you understand that? Hallelujah. Thinking the beard save you. There's no beard, hair on your face save you. So I speak the word and you go ball on your head and ball on your face. What you going to do? You just going to go out and then sin? Because you think you doom anyway? Because you have no hair on your face? You're a devil. You want to drink your alcohol. You want to go fornicate and do what you want to do and call yourself saved and call on Yahweh. You devil. Not happening here. We know the Most High. We know the Word. And we're not scripture quoters only. We live the Word. We read and we teach. Hallelujah. And it's a mandate to walk righteous in the house of the Most High. Glory to His name. So go find yourself some hen pen pastor, because this is not a hen pen pastor. And I'm not raising up hen pen people. Hallelujah. So you think your fringes save you? Get a scissors and cut it right off. These people, they're living in the shadows of the Moedim instead of living in the light of Yahushua HaMashiach, which is life. Life forever. Bless His mighty name. Blessings and praises unto the Most High for his word. We celebrate him forevermore. We consecrate this day, his holy people. We speak life in the midst of his people, safety upon all, no harm, no danger upon any. Keep us, shield us from all harm and danger. We pray, Father, we're your beloved, and we love you, for you have taught us how to love you. More and more, each day, we ascend as your people. Amen, amen, amen. Blessings. Amona. Glory to his name. Glory.